Hello, welcome back. Today we delve into three of the most chilling murder cases. Stories that do not only captures the attention of the public, but also raises profound questions about justice, humanity, and the darker sides of society. 1. Upstairs Lounge Fire Massacre. The Upstairs Lounge arson attack took place on June 24, 1973, at a gay bar situated on the second floor of a three-story building at 604 Iberville Street in New Orleans, Louisiana. The tragic incident resulted in the deaths of 32 individuals and left 15 others injured due to fire or smoke inhalation. On June 24, 1973, the Upstairs Lounge's regular beer bus special drew its typical blue-collar gay clientele. The event, held from 5 o'clock to 7 p.m., attracted around 110 patrons. After the special concluded, about 60 to 90 people remained, enjoying a performance by pianist George Stephen, Bud Matey, and discussing an upcoming MCC fundraiser for the local crippled children's hospital. At 7:56 p.m., a buzzer sounded from downstairs, prompting bartender Buddy Rasmussen, an Air Force veteran, to ask Luther Boggs to answer the door, expecting a taxi driver. When Boggs opened the door, he found the front staircase engulfed in flames and smelled lighter fluid. Rasmussen quickly led about 20 patrons out the back exit to the roof, allowing them to access a neighboring building's roof and climb down to safety. Others viewed the floor-to-ceiling windows as their best escape route. However, safety bars with a 14-inch gap prevented easy access. Some managed to squeeze through, emerging burning. Boggs was among those who escaped through a window after pushing his female friend to safety. While the flames on him were extinguished by the owner of a nearby bar, he succumbed to third-degree burns covering 50% of his body 16 days later, on July 10th. Reverend Bill Larson of the MCC attempted to escape by removing an air conditioning unit from a window when the upper pane of glass fell on him, trapping him halfway out. His charred remains were visible to onlookers for hours afterward and were captured in many photographs taken of the building following the 16-minute fire. MCC Assistant Pastor George Mitch Mitchell managed to escape, but returned in a desperate attempt to save his partner, Louis Horace Broussard, with whom he had celebrated a civil ceremony 2 years prior. Both perished in the fire, found together, clinging to each other. Meanwhile, Mitchell's children visiting from out of town watched the same movie 7 times as they waited for their father's return. Eventually, a friend took them to the airport, sending them home to their mother without revealing the tragedy that had unfolded. Firefighters stationed 2 blocks away faced obstacles from cars and pedestrian traffic. One fire truck attempted to navigate the sidewalk but collided with a taxi. Upon arrival, they found patrons struggling against the security bars and quickly brought the fire under control. 28 people lost their lives at the scene of the 16-minute fire, and 1 more died while being transported to the hospital. Additionally, 18 others were injured, with 3 of them, including Boggs, later succumbing to their injuries. Many churches declined to hold funerals for the victims. However, Reverend William P. Richardson of St. George's Episcopal Church agreed to conduct a small prayer service for them on June 25th, which was attended by around 80 people. The following day, Iverson B. Noland, the Episcopal Bishop of New Orleans, criticized Richardson for organizing the service, receiving over 100 complaints from parishioners. Richardson's mailbox soon filled with hate mail. Later, 2 additional memorial services took place on July 1st at a Unitarian church and St. Mark's United Methodist Church, led by Louisiana's Methodist Bishop, Phineas Crutchfield, and MCC founder Reverend Troy Perry, who traveled from Los Angeles to participate. Mourners chose to exit through the church's main door instead of using a side exit, signaling a newfound willingness to be seen on camera. Several families did not come forward to claim the bodies of their loved ones, while a few anonymous individuals stepped in to cover the burial costs for 3 unidentified men who were laid to rest alongside another victim. The official investigation did not result in any convictions. The primary suspect in the attack was Roger Dale Nunez, who had been removed from the bar earlier that evening after getting into a fight with another patron. Police attempted to question Nunez shortly afterward, but he was hospitalized with a broken jaw and unable to respond. When he was questioned later, police records indicate he did not seem nervous. Nunez had a witness who stated he had been in and out of the bar during the 10 to 20 minutes leading up to the fire and claimed to have seen no one enter or leave the building. However, police dismissed this witness as untrustworthy due to signs of stress. Nunez had been diagnosed with conversion hysteria in 1970 and had visited various psychiatric clinics, having been released from a treatment facility the year before the fire. After his arrest, he escaped from psychiatric custody and was never recaptured by police, even though he was frequently seen in the French Quarter. A friend later informed investigators that Nunez had confessed to starting the fire on at least 4 occasions, claiming he had sprayed the bottom steps with Ronsonol lighter fluid purchased at a local Walgreens and then tossed a match. He asserted that he did not realize the fire would engulf the entire place. Nunez died by suicide in November 1974. 2. Anna Maria Buser murdered her husband. On August 17, 1838, 52-year-old Anna Maria Buser, née Graf, appeared before the Leistel District Court in Basel-Landschaft, seeking a divorce from her husband, Heinrich, whom she had married 23 years earlier. They lived in a mill in Niederskontal within the commune of Fullensdorf. Anna accused Heinrich of frequent drunkenness, claiming that, when intoxicated, he engaged in various reckless behaviors and made insulting comments. She alleged that he could consume 3 bottles of schnapps in just 2 days, often staying out overnight and neglecting his work. This was not the first time Anna had sought help from the authorities. A few months prior, she had requested that her husband be placed under guardianship, describing him as a spendthrift and feeble-minded, and expressing her desire to manage the mill herself. However, her request was denied because the mill was profitable. Now Anna returned to the district court to file for divorce again, asking for the business to be transferred to her for the sake of herself and her sons, while also offering her husband an annual salary. Heinrich consented to the divorce on the condition that he could keep control of the mill. He denied Anna's allegations, claiming that she had long disparaged and belittled him, turning their employees and even their children against him. Buser's neighbor, cantonal councillor Platter, supported this assertion, noting that the eldest son had frequently been physically abusive toward his father, a fact that Anna seemed to take pride in, remarking that her husband now had a master in their son. Platter also mentioned an incident where Anna had served a dead cat on Heinrich's dinner plate. While he admitted that Heinrich, like many millers, often frequented local taverns, no one could recall ever seeing him drunk or unruly. Despite the clear ongoing conflict between the couple, after hearing both sides, the district court decided not to recognize a divorce at this time. Instead, they imposed a court-mandated cohabitation, strongly advising the couple to tolerate one another peacefully. However, hope for this was minimal, as evidenced by Anna's final remarks to the judge, where she declared her intent to manage the business effectively and increase their wealth. She further threatened that if her husband objected, she would have her servants restrain him and have him beaten for as long as she deemed necessary. The district judge had little option but to deny the divorce. Basel-Landschaft was a reformed canton, allowing divorces under strict conditions, unlike Catholic regions where marriage is viewed as a sacrament that cannot be dissolved. In Catholic cantons, separation from bed and board was only permitted in the most extreme circumstances. Reformer Zwingli had outlined several valid grounds for divorce, including adultery, severe physical abuse by the husband, willful abandonment, a capital crime committed by one spouse, infectious disease, insanity, and male impotence. Even under Reformed law, marriage was fundamentally not intended to be dissolved. In Basel-Landschaft, the marriage court's nearly 100-year-old regulations were still in effect in 1838. Established in 1747, these rules recognized only marital breakdown and willful abandonment as grounds for divorce. Judges were mandated to exercise extreme caution when granting divorce decrees, even if adequate justification was presented, in the hope of fostering reconciliation between the parties. While it was evident by today's standards that the Busers' marriage had deteriorated, the district court compelled the couple to continue living together. It was prohibited for married couples to separate without state approval. Spouses should not be allowed to separate of their own accord, regardless of the reasons. The moral court monitored whether couples were cohabitating, as the legislators of the time viewed marriage as a superindividual institution over which the spouses generally have no control, considering its existence as vital to regulating gender relations and serving the public interest of the state. In February 1839, Heinrich Buser fell seriously ill, experiencing severe vomiting, diarrhea, and excruciating stomach pain. He lost weight, suffered from intense chills, and ultimately became paralyzed in his arms and legs. By May, Heinrich, now confined to bed, confided in his brother Jakob about his suspicion that his wife had poisoned him. Jakob reported this to the district examining magistrate in Liestal, who promptly removed the gravely ill Heinrich from the marital home. When Anna Buser was called in and confronted with her husband's allegations, she coldly replied that she hoped the illness he had contracted from his careless lifestyle would take him to benefit both him and us. Her wish was granted when Heinrich Buser died on May 20, 1839. However, it was not his careless lifestyle that caused his death. Following the initial post-mortem, doctors confirmed that Heinrich had succumbed to metal poisoning. It didn't take long for Anna Maria Buser to confess to her husband's murder. After gathering witness statements, authorities were able to reconstruct the events. To execute the poisoning, Anna had first visited an unlicensed apothecary named Stocker in Frankendorf, a carpenter known to the authorities as the Quack. She explicitly asked him for a poison that would lead to a slow death, offering him 50 doubloons and 2 years' worth of flour in exchange. Anna's accomplice, Heuberger, a former servant in the Buser household, had fled just before Heinrich's death when the situation became too precarious. He connected Anna with Stocker and collected the poison for her. However, authorities dismissed the notion that Heuberger was Anna's lover, noting that his outward appearance was as unpleasant as his character. Stocker's initial poison failed to work, leading him to blackmail Anna by threatening to reveal what he knew. In desperation, she tried using copper shavings, grating them into her husband's roast potatoes. When that also proved ineffective, she added lead oxide, which she had purchased from a painter, to his brandy. Although this made Heinrich ill, it only became lethal when combined with sulfuric acid and hydrochloric acid. The authorities were unable to conclusively establish whether the eldest son, Heinrich Jr., was aware of his mother's deadly intentions, as he took his own life with his military rifle on June 14th. When questioned about her motive, Anna stated, "I did it because they wouldn't allow me to divorce him. If the court hadn't compelled us to live together, I would never have thought of doing such a thing." On April 6, 1840, the criminal court sentenced Anna Maria Buser to death by beheading. The verdict was upheld by the Basel Cantonal Parliament with a vote of 51-2. Stocker and Heuberger received sentences of 10 and 5 years of shackled imprisonment, respectively. Anna never expressed any remorse for her actions. While in prison, she claimed to have forgotten her husband long ago. According to the Berner Volksfreund newspaper, Anna Maria Buser appeared calm as she walked to the barrack yard in Liestal on May 14, 1840, where thousands had gathered to witness her execution. The report noted, Mrs. Buser displayed a boldness that commands respect, even in a criminal. While she may not have known how to live properly, she certainly knew how to face death with resolve. 3. The murder of Joe Kum Yong. The tragic murder of retired miner Joe Kum Yong on Haining Street in Wellington brought to the forefront the deep-seated animosity that some individuals harbored towards New Zealand's small, yet historically significant Chinese community. This heinous act was perpetrated by Lionel Terry, a white supremacist who had recently immigrated to the country. Terry's brutal crime was not merely an act of violence. It was a calculated attempt to advance his extremist ideology, which aimed to expel non-European immigrants from New Zealand. Joe Kum Yong, a respected member of the community who had worked hard throughout his life, became an unwitting target in Terry's misguided crusade. The attack not only shocked those who knew Yong, but also served as a stark reminder of the ongoing challenges faced by minority communities in the country. Terry's actions pervasive issues of racism and xenophobia that can plague societies, highlighting the need for greater awareness and understanding among all citizens. The incident sparked conversations about tolerance, acceptance, and the importance of protecting the rights of every individual, regardless of their ethnic background. Joe Kum Yong was born in Punyu County, located in the Guangdong province of China. Approximately 25 years prior to his untimely death, he made the journey to New Zealand after spending several years working as a miner in Victoria, Australia, where he honed his skills in the demanding and often perilous world of gold mining. During his time on the west coast of New Zealand, He met with misfortune while pursuing a gold mining claim. A serious accident resulted in a broken leg, which left him unable to continue his work in the mines. As he aged and faced the physical limitations imposed by his injury, Joe found himself at a crossroads. The local Chinese community, recognizing his contributions and the hardships he had endured, came together to raise funds for his return to China. They understood the significance of family and heritage and wanted to ensure he had the chance to reconnect with his roots. However, in a remarkable display of resilience and determination, Joe chose not to return to his homeland. Instead, he opted to relocate to Haining Street in Wellington, which was known as the heart of the capital's Chinese community. Dinar, this vibrant area was not just a place to live. It represented a sense of belonging and continuity for Joe. It was a neighborhood filled with familiar faces, cultural traditions, and a supportive network that offered him a new lease on life. By moving to Haining Street, Joe sought to maintain his connection to the community he had come to love, embracing the rich tapestry of Chinese culture and the camaraderie of fellow immigrants. In this bustling environment, he found solace in the friendships he had built over the years, as well as the hope that he could continue to contribute to the community in meaningful ways, even in his later years. On the fateful night of September 24, 1905, Joe Kum Yong was walking along Haining Street, a vibrant thoroughfare in Wellington that served as the hub of the local Chinese community. As he strolled peacefully, reflecting on his life and the community he cherished, he was suddenly ambushed from behind. Lionel Terry, driven by his extremist beliefs and hatred, shot Joe without warning. Immediately after the shooting, Joe was rushed to the hospital, where medical staff worked tirelessly to save him. Unfortunately, despite their best efforts, he succumbed to his injuries shortly thereafter, leaving behind a community in shock and mourning. The brutal nature of the crime and the senseless loss of a beloved community member sent ripples of fear and anger throughout the Chinese community in Wellington. The following morning, Lionel Terry surrendered to the police, his actions already sparking widespread outrage. When the case went to trial in November, it garnered significant media attention, not only because of the crime itself, but also due to Terry's audacious decision to conduct his own defense. He attempted to justify his actions, revealing the depths of his racist ideology. But the court found him guilty of murder. Ultimately, he was sentenced to death, a verdict that seemed to reflect the community's desire for justice. However, in a surprising turn of events, Terry's sentence was later commuted to life imprisonment on the grounds of insanity, despite his own vehement denial of any mental illness. During the proceedings, experts diagnosed him as a paranoid schizophrenic, a condition that shed light on his disturbed state of mind and the motivations behind his violent actions. Terry spent the remainder of his life confined first in Littleton Prison and later transferred to Sunnyside and Seacliff mental hospitals, where he would remain under the care of mental health professionals. His life, once marked by extremist beliefs and violent actions, became a stark contrast to the peaceful existence that Joe Kum Yong had sought. Terry died in 1952, leaving behind a legacy intertwined with tragedy and a community forever changed by the loss of one of its own.